Hello and welcome back to episode 8 of Premier League Primetime, and we are back again as always. And we are here to bring you the same old as always. So we have some great games to review. But first off, for my usual co-hosts, how are all of you doing today?
Excellent, Davis. How are you?
I'm doing all right myself, and we are joined by a guest today, our friend Landon. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
I'm all good myself.
Glad to hear
Apart from the game at the weekend, I'm all good and ready to go. And let's jump right into this match day 7 analyzation. And Landon, starting with you, Wolves hosted Crystal Palace at home and they won by 2-0. Goal scored by Ait Nouri, the French left back on loan from Angers, I believe, and then Daniel Podence in the 27th minute. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, I thought Wolves were very dominant. I thought Podence played amazing. Very bright attacking winger coming in from Portugal. I know Wolves have a lot of Portuguese talent nowadays, and I think that fits brilliantly into the system Nuno's creating over there. Also, watching the game, I thought Den Donker in midfield was absolutely brilliant. I thought his central defensive position was not only excellent, but when he goes to attack, he's a great attacking-minded CDM. It's super rare nowadays to have someone who can also defend and then play other side of the ball as well. So I thought that was a really, really fantastic performance. I thought Semedo looked really well, as well as an attacking improviser. He's a bright-minded fullback, can go forward, can defend similarly to Den Donker, and I thought that showed brilliantly in their 2-0 victory against Palace. They're solid 6 in the table right now, so they're doing strong. A solid game at the weekend. For Palace on the other side, I didn't think they necessarily played horrible or bad. It's a 2-0 defeat to a pretty strong opponent. I think Palace's main issue right now is the lack of a creative midfielder. They have talent up front with the position. They had Zaha and Batshuayi up top, who I thought looked okay. They did score a couple or one or two offside goals, they had good build-up play and good crosses in the box from Klein and Van Aanholt. But I think they're kind of a one-trick pony in a sense where they cross the ball into their strikers, and that's all they have right now. So I do think they're going to proceed to drop further down the table if they don't pick up a creative midfielder soon.
And yeah, I agree with almost every single word that you said there. That was brilliantly said, Landon. And yeah, he said it there. And that's one thing, especially looking at Crystal Palace. They desperately need a creative midfielder because they can't keep doing what they've done season after season, which is rely on Wilfried Zaha to just propel them where they need to be. And to be honest with you, I think if they had that sort of creative midfielder, as you mentioned, I think they would definitely be able to challenge for the top half of the table. But for me, going into this game, I personally thought that it would just be you look at Nuno Espirito Santo and you look at Roy Hodgson, and they have the same kind of system. They play the same kind of system, which is sit back and then hit teams on the break. I thought what you said about Den Donker was extremely on point. You definitely don't see a lot of CDMs that really get forward, at least and are good going forward. And Den Donker, I mean, we've seen him play center back, we've seen him play left center back, right center back, and yeah, we've seen him play in a midfield 2 and a midfield 3. And for me, that's the one thing about Wolves that personally I find amazing is that a lot of these players are super just adaptable where they are. Like, for example, Roman Size can play almost anywhere in that back 5. Podence can even play in that middle. He could play on the left or right. But yeah, well deserved from Wolves to win that game for me. And yeah, that was very well said. And moving to the next game, Andre, over to you. Sheffield United hosted Manchester City, and the Sheffield native Kyle Walker scoring a wonderful strike into that bottom left-hand corner relatively early in that first half. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, like you said, settled by that Kyle Walker shot from his favorite spot. He's scored quite a few goals from that general angle. But yeah, two great managers with, I think, innovative styles of football but absolutely lacking in actual like threatening players. I think they're both like that. I think Sheffield United they create chances, but they're nowhere near clinical. I mean, Ryan Brewster screwed up a one-on-one where he tried an audacious chip where it's like, you're just get it in the back of the net. I think if Sheffield United want to be as threatening as they were before, then they need to be a lot more brutal. They need to be just as brutal as in attack, just as, like they are in winning the ball over. Um, from the City perspective, I think you can make the same case with a lot of the players. City seem to have a select few players that seem to be stepping up each match, and it's helping them squeeze by the matches. They're squeezing by. This time it was a brilliant 90 minutes from Kyle Walker. Really, he played really well. But yeah, City are squeezing by, and I think if City do want to be the title contenders that they were at the moment, they're fighting to be respected as title challengers. It generally needs to be better for City, and I think Pep needs to start finding options in order to be what they were.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, Andre said it very, very well there. It's a good win for City. It's a very much needed win for Manchester City.
Yeah.
And as I've said in times in the past, this is clearly not the same Manchester City side that we saw in 2017-18 season or 2018-19 season, where they looked strong from back to front. I mean, we've seen it last year and now this year as well. They have limited options in attack. Injuries again to Aguero and Gabriel Jesus, and they're really thin up front. And they've had to resort to playing Raheem Sterling in that position, Ferran Torres in that position, Riyad Mahrez drifting there as well. And Manchester City really need to go out and dip into the transfer market if they want to, keep themselves as one of the main title challengers. And yeah, as you said for Sheffield United, as you said, I agree with that 100%. They need to be more ruthless and clinical in front of goal. Ryan Brewster, $30 million from Liverpool. I honestly don't know what it is with Liverpool, but they're always able to sell just players that are just considered classified as deadwood for large amounts of money. Most notably to Bournemouth, like Dominic Solanke for like £90 million to Bournemouth. You have Jordan Ibe, who left Liverpool for like what was it, like £15 million or something like that. And it shows that these players may not be up to not only the Liverpool standard, but maybe not even Premier League standard. But yeah, very well said there. And you put everything there perfectly. Now for the next game, Jose, going to you. Chelsea went to Turf Moor and they dispatched Burnley by 3-0. Goals scored again. 2 goals in 2 consecutive games for Hakim Ziyech, Kurt Zouma, and Timo Werner scoring for Chelsea. What did you make of that game?
Well, it shows definitely how much Chelsea have improved recently. I mean, their defense, they haven't conceded a goal in quite a long time, I think, and it's been really impressive the impact that Hakim Ziyech has made. I mean, he scored in the last game and in this game, so he's done really well. And I mean, overall, Chelsea were pretty dominant in this game. I mean, between the first and second goal, Burnley may have given them a few scary moments, but still no shots on target or anything. So it was a really good performance by Chelsea.
Yeah, and as you said, and as we've all on the show criticized Chelsea in the past, their defense has just not been good enough. And yes, you can make the argument and say, oh, it's just Burnley, who cares? But I mean, a good result is a good result. And that's what Chelsea really needed, was that clean sheet. And I think and that was a really, really good performance from Chelsea overall. Defensively, they looked impressive. Thiago Silva and Zuma anchoring them in the back with Chilwell and Reece James on the flanks. Yeah, it definitely was an impressive performance from Chelsea. And they definitely looked impressive going forward as well. And Andre, going to you, West Ham went to Liverpool and they lost by 2-1. Pablo Fornals scoring in the 10th minute, and then goals from Liverpool coming from a Mohamed Salah penalty, whether people think it's a penalty or not, scoring from the spot late in the first half. And then once again, Diogo Jota. This guy is just in red hot form, and in the Champions League today, he scored a hat trick against Atalanta. And Andre, two questions. First off, what did you make of the game? And second of all, do you think Diogo Jota could easily, or not easily, but potentially permanently push Roberto Firmino out of this Liverpool side?
I mean, I think for me right now, Diogo Jota is Liverpool's most threatening attacking player. He's just got a spark, and he's dribbling's obviously incredibly impressive, his technical ability. So you're exactly right when you say he's on a red hot run of form. In terms of pushing Firmino out, I suppose it's possible, but I think if that were to happen, then you would be changing Liverpool tactically a bit. You know, the fact is Firmino and Jota are both class players, but they do different things. As you know, Liverpool fans put it, Roberto Firmino is a defensive striker. I don't know if Jota's that kind. Anyway, but the game, yeah, it was an interesting one, and I guess I predicted it perfectly. I said Liverpool would get the job done, and everyone would start praising Liverpool again. They were the first team to win against West Ham, despite West Ham having a really difficult run of fixtures. I think West Ham fans will remember that they gave up an early 1-goal lead, but they'll be incredibly pleased with how their team has done with the run of fixtures that they've had. They've taken points in every match except for this one. Yeah, I think they'll take it. It meets requirements for sure. But yeah, I'd say that Liverpool's front three weren't at their best, but Liverpool were quite class in the first 2/3 of the pitch. We saw Phillips make his debut, and he was an aerial threat. He was solid, and I'd say outshone Joe Gomez. In midfield, Curtis Jones played alongside Henderson and Wijnaldum, and Henderson played out of his skin. He was a leader on the pitch, leader not just in terms of vocal, but leader by example, which is what he needed to be. And he took a couple good shots. He was everywhere. Henderson absolutely won the midfield battle for Liverpool that game. I think they deserve to win.
Yeah, they definitely did deserve to win, 100%. For me, it's unfortunate for West Ham how they lost by 2-1. But again, as a West Ham fan, if I were a West Ham fan, I would take this result, to be honest with you. And in terms of just goals conceded, yes, they've gone to that back five, but yeah, they've been impressive leading up to the Liverpool game. And for me, I really wouldn't be too disappointed. I honestly wouldn't be. And I only think West Ham fans and David Moyes and the squad as itself will be optimistic going forward. And yeah, and going back, as you said, Phillips was unbelievably impressive. He had a phenomenal game, as you said. Yeah, he was incredibly dominant in the air. And kind of reminds me back when Harry Maguire was actually in good form. But let's not talk about Harry Maguire because it will make me upset. But just something what you said. I mean, it's another straightforward Liverpool performance. And for me, if I were Bobby Firmino, I'd be fearing for my spot right now. A guy who was originally brought in as a depth host, to be honest with you. I don't think any of us could say Diogo Jota was gonna, earn a spot in the Liverpool starting 11. I don't think anybody could say that. He's brought in as a depth player. He's been thrown into central midfield. He's been thrown in on the wing. He's been thrown in up front, and he's been so impressive. And for me, yes, Firmino is crucial to Liverpool as he links up, all the plays together and stuff like that. But I think Diogo Jota just brings something totally different, and I think Diogo Jota, for me, in my opinion, just suits Liverpool better. To be honest with you, he's more that flair player that that Liverpool kind of need, in my opinion. So yeah, very well said there.
And you speak about the versatility of Diogo Jota playing in midfield and whatever, and you spoke about the versatility of Nuno Espirito Santos Wolves when we were analyzing that game. So I'm sure Santos has to take some credit for the development of the versatility of Diogo Jota.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, he most certainly does. 100%. Moving to the next game, Sirius, going to you. Aston Villa hosted Southampton, and that was a crazy thriller of a game. Southampton just won it by 4-3. For Southampton, goal scored by Jannik Vestergaard, James Ward-Prowse with 2 goals, and of course, the man himself, Danny Ings, scoring yet again for Southampton, and for Aston Villa, Tyrone Mings, Ollie Watkins from the spot, and Jack Grealish. What did you make of this crazy game?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I would call it a thriller because I feel like Aston Villa, they scored their 2 goals at the end. I feel like Southampton kind of like laid off, but Southampton was clinical yet again. We talked about Danny Ings. They had 4 shots on target, 4 goals, pretty good. Both these sides have been surprising. Southampton's on, I think they're tied with Everton on points, so that's pretty impressive. As we've seen Jack Grealish, he keeps carrying his team. Ollie Watkins again, the Brentford lad. But yeah, it was a good game. Danny Ings just continues to be impressive.
Yeah, very simple to sum it up, and Sirius just did that perfectly well there. And yeah, yet again we see Danny Ings on the score sheet for Southampton, and honestly, just thinking about Sirius said, I do kind of agree with the point that to a certain extent it was a throw, but also wasn't. Southampton, very very well deserved to win that game. For large portions of the game, they were massively dominant. At certain points of the game, they were almost, their back four was camping themselves on that Aston Villa half, and they were clinical and they were ruthless. And again, and that all stems from the manager, Ralph Hutenhodel. And I'll say it again, as I've said in the past, very underrated. I think this guy is a great manager, and for me, that Southampton side wouldn't be playing the way that they do without, his mentality.
Real quick question. James Ward-Prowse scored 2 great free kicks. He's known for that, but he's been incredibly important for Southampton. Do you guys think that he deserves a bigger move, or do you think he just needs to develop more? Is he not good enough in terms of quality? But I don't know.
I'll answer this one first. For me personally, James Ward-Prowse over past 1 or 2 seasons has mainly more proven last season, but especially this season, he's been unbelievable. He's been tremendous at that Southampton side. And for me personally, if you're asking me, does he deserve a big move based off of what I've seen last season and as of so far with this season, he absolutely deserves a big move. But for me, what I'll say is let's see how he does till the end of the season, because you never know. What if he gets injured? What if there's a sudden decline in form? You never know. But yeah, as of right now, he definitely deserves that big move. Yeah. To where he'll go.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's what I was thinking. I think he's getting up there in age now. He's 26. I think this year he's going to be 27. I think he definitely deserves a big move. The question is where.
Exactly.
If he stays domestic and goes to a club in the Premier League, I can see him fitting in at possibly like a United as a key defensive player, but kind of a rotation player, because we do have Pogba, you have McTominay, you got Fred, Matic, you have options. I don't see him fitting into a City or a Liverpool at the moment. I could see him fitting into a possible Chelsea side, but the question is the price worth it for how many good years of how long can he actually continue to play like this? I think that's the big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Landon was spot on there. And Yeah, he's absolutely right. And yeah, he definitely deserves a big move. And the question is where. In terms of that, in terms of what you said about Manchester United there, for me personally, when you look at Manchester United and you look at James Ward-Prowse and you think to yourself, where could he fit in? Um, for me, he sort of reminds me of Donny van de Beek, not in terms of ability, obviously, but just in positioning and play styles. Um, for me, he is sort of like that box to box kind of player who's on the more defensive side, kind of like a Fred for me. Would it be a good asset to have at United? Absolutely. But is he an all out number six like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg was for Southampton? No. But yeah, he definitely deserves that big move. But yeah, the question is where. And actually, Landon, sticking with you for the next game, Newcastle, through 2 Callum Wilson goals, was able to hold off a depleted Everton side who went to St. James's Park, which they got their goal in stoppage time through, no surprise, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The guy has just had a flying season so far. What did you make of that game?
Definitely, yeah. I'll start with Newcastle first. I thought Newcastle was excellent. They looked bright. They had significant less possession, but they looked strong in the counterattack. I loved Callum Wilson's performance. I know he got the double. He was excellent. I thought St. Maximin and Ryan Fraser, that new transfer coming in with Callum Wilson, both from Bournemouth, I thought they were excellent. Yeah, combining for that second goal, they both looked good. I thought St. Maximin as well. He's turning up big for them. I know he had a slow start when he first got introduced into English football, but I think he's slowly increasing. He's learning his play style, how he can adapt that. And I thought there were some plays there where they missed out on a couple finishes, but their build-up play looks strong in the counterattack. Now through their last 4 matches, I believe they have 7 points out of 12, which is very impressive. Not against the easy opponents as well. Everton, as we know, were by some people right now being favorites to win the Premier League. I think that's a little bit of a stretch now that we can see the transition of where the league is going and how they're playing. Everton now have 1 point from their last 3 matches. Obviously, they've had some sort of injuries, squad depth issues. I know James was not able to play last week. So I liked Sigurdsson's performance as well, but I think without those key players that they brought in the window, they look a little bit slow, a little bit dull. They lacked that kind of final pass. Their whole play throughout the whole game was okay. I think that's how I would describe it. 2-1 result to Everton or to Newcastle away is not the worst thing ever, but based off the form that they've been having recently and their start to the season, you would have expected more going into that match for sure.
Yeah, and again, very well said there. And it just shows how crucial James Rodriguez has been to that side. I mean that guy has created literally everything for them. And one of our friends here is a massive James Rodriguez fan. But yeah, and all the time he'll tell me, how important he is and how good of a player he is. And yeah, and he's been so impressive this season, and he's been huge for the Everton side because without him, Everton really wouldn't have half the goals that they have right now. He's been huge in the way he's created so many chances and opportunities. And also another notable absence would be in the form of Richarlison. That's another huge absence for them. And we definitely saw some absences in their back four, like Seamus Coleman was out, Luca Digne obviously to that red card against Southampton. But another question I want to ask you: Jordan Pickford dropped in that game.
Yes.
Robin Olsen got the start. What did you make of that?
I know there was a clip when that penalty was awarded. Pickford was distraught. He was you can tell he was very angry with the result of that penalty and the save. I thought that clip was it has some meaning, but at the same time, I don't blame him for dropping Pickford. Very shaky recently. I personally, from after the World Cup in, I think it was 2018. I think that's the year, hopefully. 2018, I don't like Pickford personally. I think he's too fit. He's too iffy. it depends on the game, his performance, away, home. It's just there's no consistency throughout his game, and I can sort of relate that back to David De Gea in a way, of how he used to be performing. I kind of get that same level of consistency issues with Pickford, and I don't blame him for getting dropped, but I do think he's still the better keeper than Olsen.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, but we've seen this, we've seen this error-prone Jordan Pickford for quite some time now, and you even look at last season. It's been most notable this season, but you look at last season as well. Quite a few times, we'd see him, be dropping the ball and stuff like that. And yeah, as you said, very similar to David De Gea since the 2018 World Cup. And honestly, looking at, I mean, both of them for me are kind of the same. For me, both of them really haven't been, at their world class or top class best since that 2018 World Cup. Anyways, going to the next game, and for me, if you want to hear what I think about Manchester United's utterly abysmal performance against Arsenal, go check out my match reaction. But for Jose and starting with Jose and Landon, Mikel Arteta's another masterclass. Tactically, was head and foot above Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in every single way. Jose, starting with you, where did it go wrong for us back on Sunday?
Well, it started with the team as usual. For our losses under Ole. Ole decided to, in this game to play Fred in the CDM role and McTominay at more of a box-to-box role, which I think that was a mistake, obviously. In our game we won 5-0 against Leipzig. Yeah, the roles were reversed, and it was a much better outcome. So I'm not really sure why he decided to do that, or why he thought that was a good idea. But it's Ole, so what do you expect? And then I mean, the stats of this game, they kind of deceptive. We have the same amount of shots on target as Arsenal, but we really didn't fashion any chances at all in this game. Arsenal were utterly better than we were. I also wanted to point out that Mike Dean had a pretty poor game. I think Gabriel definitely could have been sent off, and there are a few other decisions that went Arsenal's way that I wasn't very happy about. But overall, wouldn't have really changed anything. We still definitely should have lost.
Yeah. And nobody likes Mike Dean. Honestly, nobody likes Mike Dean, and I know Mike Dean hates both sides, but
I like Mike Dean.
Well, now you like Mike Dean, but for so long, I'd always hear you say, oh, Mike Dean hates us. Mike Dean hates Arsenal. Mike Dean has hated us for like the longest time. But anyways, a question for you, Jose, sticking with you, Jose. And you look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now, and surely now people are slowly starting to lose patience, and especially myself. Are you Ole in or are you Ole out? And if you're Ole out, who do you think? Who would you like to see take the wheel or take over at the wheel? Realistically.
Well, I've always been Ole out. I think that I really respect what he's done for the club, and I think he's been good for us. He's restored our attacking football that we love to see, and I really appreciate what he's done. But I think that there's just no way with the decisions that he makes on the pitch that he's ever going to lead us to a major title. I think it's just he gets obvious things wrong way too often for him to be the permanent manager for our club. For who would take over, I think it's obvious. We want Pochettino. I think he'll do a great job. He'll do something similar to what he did at Tottenham. He made them a top class side, got them to a Champions League final. I think he'd be a really good addition for the club, and I think we should probably get him in as soon as possible, because we need to just stop. We need to stop getting these ridiculous results because of ridiculously poor decisions.
Yeah, and from your point of view, I agree with that almost entirely. And for me, looking at both sides of Maurizio Pochettino, if you know anything about football, you cannot deny that he's a class manager. This guy, especially under as I would like to call it, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge at the time. So he definitely can operate under limited funds, as we've clearly seen. Although Daniel Levy is no longer Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge, because he has Jose with him. But yeah, Maurizio Pochettino is a great manager for me. But if you look at the other side, for me, in a way, he is definitely like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the sense that he is extremely stubborn. Just in the sense of players that he would pick, in terms of the system that he plays. And Pochettino doesn't really play with a whole lot of width, but some can make the argument Manchester United have no width of any way, shape, or form. But yeah, and if you look at Pochettino, for me, that's kind of where I stand. I'm kind of. Do I think we can do better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Yes, we can. But if Pochettino comes in, as we've seen with David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and if you're now saying Maurizio Pochettino, there's still one thing that hasn't changed. So one thing, and I've said it so many times, with the parasitic owners that is the Glazers that take millions and millions and millions of pounds out of the club, you're not really gonna see much of a difference. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted Sancho, he got Cavani. I mean it's just that clear.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree, and I think I agree and disagree with some of Jose's points. I think personally, I'm Ole in right now. I've been kind of on the fence. Obviously, if the offer comes through, I want Pochettino 100%. I definitely agree with that. I think Pochettino's record, his history, previous clubs, definitely just he can outclass Ole as a manager 100%. But I think there's definitely issues with Manchester United, and I personally don't think that relies on Ole. I think that relies on the ownership of the club, the squad depth. Is a horrible decision. I know Jose pointed to this. I don't know why he played Fred at the CDM role and
I don't know why he played
McTominay. The box.
McTominay should be nowhere near that first team spot. And for me, I was before the game, and for the longest time I was Ole's biggest fan. For people who don't know, and I said it in my match reaction, this guy's my favorite player of all time. And as a Manchester United fan, I love the guy. I adore the guy. This guy's done so much for our club. He was brilliant when he first came in as an interim. But for me, if someone like Pochettino comes, I think at a certain point, Pochettino isn't going to be, just sitting out of a job for long. And for me, if I were Ed, I'd pull the trigger. For me personally,
I definitely agree with Landon. I think it's the manager's not like our biggest problem, not by far. I think the board.
He's not the solution, but he's not the main problem.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the board is by far a bigger problem than the manager, but I still think it just wouldn't hurt to change to a manager who'd obviously have a better idea of how to get wins in important games.
I agree with that, yeah.
And Landon, sticking with you, what did you make of Manchester United's disaster class against Arsenal?
Sure. Personally, I think we struggle a lot with the squad depth right now, and we have in transitioning that into consistent a winning form. I think our past European performances against Leipzig and PSG were solid. I was really impressed with the way we played, positionally, defensively, and attacking minded. I thought we were excellent. It seems like we have struggles continuing to put that form into the weekend. That could be due to a multitude of problems. Obviously, I don't think we have enough talent right now to consistently rotate players and get the wins. I think it can get super tiring to fly all the way down for a Champions League match, play 90 minutes against one of the best sides in the world, come back and then have to deal with Chelsea and Arsenal. So I do think our past 2 weeks have been definitely challenging, but at the same time, you can't not be disappointed with the performances. I personally thought El Neni was excellent. I think he outclassed our entire midfield alone. And given off of the recent history of El Neni, if you're a Manchester United fan, you know that shouldn't be happening. You know you should have a solid midfield who should not be getting bossed around by a guy who's kind of subpar on the fence. And then coming back off that with you can go first, Sirius.
No, I personally did not like that on any comment. I feel like he's a world-class player.
Well, I disagree. But if you go and if you look at the PSG squad and you look at the Leipzig squad, just going off the Leipzig game, it's a 5-0 result, and you're playing against a midfield with Kevin Campbell, who's solid. You have – who else do you have in there? You have Sabitzer, who's also solid. And then and Cuckoo, exactly. It's just a very solid midfield three, and you expect that same level of consistency to be held throughout the the Premier League matches, which is something that we're struggling with right now. I'm hopeful that we can figure it out soon. In the meantime, I know we have a really important game coming up tomorrow, actually, in the Champions League. If we can get a result there, that would be wonderful. But personally, Ole needs to figure out how to rotate the players around accordingly without killing the mentality and the position of the squad. But I think it's challenging because personally, I think there's maybe a usable starting 11, like plus 6 or 5 actual decent players that you can rotate into that squad. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Sirius, going to you, I can already guarantee that you're absolutely thrilled with that performance from your boys, which I can say nothing other than you bullied us in every single way, shape, and form. You absolutely deserved to win the game. They were top class on the day. If Arsenal didn't win the game, I mean, I would come out and would admit, that would be so lucky. If Arsenal didn't win, and it would be criminal. Sirius, what do you think Mikel Arteta did, player-wise, mentality-wise? Just what went well for Arsenal in terms of specifics on Sunday?
It was a classic, Arteta masterclass, from the back. Al Neni, just, oh my God, what a goat. What a goat. So good. Al Neni, Partey, of course, what a great signing that is. A beast in the midfield. He made Pogba look like, actually Pogba, because Pogba sucks. But, it was just great. Aubameyang, he was on that 5-goal goal drought. Great to see him get a goal. Tierney and Bellerin. I know Bellerin, he gets a lot of stick. I still think, he has to improve defensively, but, I think he was great today as well. Arteta does this against big teams. It works a lot. I know it didn't work against Man City last time, but what I'm thinking is I didn't want it to be like against Leicester. We dominated the first 30 minutes. I didn't want it to be like that, and thankfully it wasn't. We continued to press forward, and it was a great performance.
Yeah, I agree with that, and yeah, I agree with that 100%. But for me personally, if you think about it, there really wasn't, a whole lot of times where you saw an Arsenal hit us on the break because, I mean that's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does for a living. Literally sits back and it seems on the break, which Arteta nullified. But I think for me, the thing we could not handle was Arteta constantly telling his team to press. We are just overall in history. We are horrendous when it comes to teams pressing our back four, pressing our team, and every single time one of our defensives got the ball, you'd be constantly screaming press, and it was very, very noticeable. As I said in my
sorry, I was just going to say, even in the 91st minute, you have Al Neni just pressing the field, but
And in Nketiah, both of them were pressing Lindelof, and Lindelof just saying, "Yo, where's the space?" And he just literally dribbled the ball out of play, and he was furious. He was yelling and screaming, saying, "Hey, come on, help me out! Someone open up!" And it just shows, the urgency of Arsenal there was nothing short of spectacular. Horrendous defeat on Man United's part. For Man United fans, we're gonna have to take it on the chin. Hopefully, we'll get a result against Everton, but I'm just really not that confident that we will, based off of that performance. Andre, moving to you, and I know Andre is nothing short of happy because a special little Welshman who you'd expect to be crocked in his hospital gurney in the medical room actually scored a goal. Gareth Bale is back. A goal from Harry Kane, of course, from the spot. What a surprise! And then Gareth Bale, of course, scoring with that header. And then a man who I've talked about from time to time again, Tariq Lamptey, scoring for Brighton. Andre, what did you make of that game? And are you now seeing, as the expression says, champagne football from Tottenham?
No, definitely not from that match. It wasn't champagne football. That match was, it was a Tottenham match, typical Tottenham match, because roller coaster of emotions. We took the lead through a controversial VAR decision, and we lost the lead because of a terrible refereeing decision. And then at the end, saved by the bail. But Tarek Lamptey was really, really brilliant. Brighton continued to play really good football, but you've got this run of games where they're playing really well and not taking anything out of it is just turning more significant. And you've got to fear that missing piece for Brighton that they need to find in order to, unfortunately, avoid relegation. But yeah, it just shows that with good football, there's still something else that they need to do to get those points. But Lamptey was absolutely brilliant. He terrorized us on their attack.
Yeah. I was looking at the footballing news around the world today, and I saw a report that apparently that Neil Mopai, aka Mopai's won it at the end, was dropped because of an altercation in the locker room. Apparently, he was dropped because of attitude problems. And now seeing that, Neil Mopai is so important to Brighton. He's so important at Brighton's side in terms of goals. He's huge to that side. So missing him was huge. You said it perfectly there. A great moment for Gareth Bale. I mean, you can see in the celebration how much it meant to him. Could that be the start of Gareth Bale being rejuvenated? Who knows?
Yes.
What do you guys think of what do you think of VAR moving forward? Where do you see it in the next 5 years? Because after that match, I was a little heated and confused. Thank you, Sirius.
Here's my thing about VAR. For me, I think VAR is a good thing for me personally. But hold on, I think for what it does, like it corrects very obvious errors, and for the things that aren't really caught normally by just regular refereeing, it definitely very much helps with that. And you look at goal line technology. When goal line technology was officially installed, nobody argued with goal line technology because that gave the final call for everything. But the problem with VAR is that there have been so many obvious and missed errors, missed calls that needed to be made, calls that were clearly unfair and should or shouldn't have been made. And that's been the problem. And for me, if VAR sticks like that, then VAR is going to be an absolute shambles. But if VAR is changed and back to what it should be, for me, I think VAR is a very good thing. But it just really depends how it goes down the line for me.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good thing for Man U since you guys get pens all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing for Arsenal because I don't know how Gabriel did not get sent off after getting a yellow card.
VAR can't check that though. They can't check a yellow red.
That's the issue, right? That's the problem with VAR.
Yeah, I have no idea how Gabriel didn't get sent off.
Things.
Yeah, well, I think Gabriel personally liked it.
I mean, also, Gabriel played amazing though.
He should.
He was amazing. He was amazing.
He was fantastic.
He's been brilliant all season.
Yeah, Arsenal has the least amount of goals conceded so far, 7. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due. He played amazing, but
he's
same
been
time
amazing all season.
VAR.
Yeah, so did
that tackle in the corner flag. I don't know how that was not. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
I think they would have won because Mustafi was coming in, so it's fine.
That's facts. Mustafi is the king.
Definitely. Anyway, so moving right along, and Sirius, coming to you, the extremely exciting and entertaining game of Fulham and West Brom played on Monday, and Fulham actually came away with their first Premier League win of the season. Goal scored by Bobby Reed and Ola Aina with an absolute rocket of a hit. Sirius, what did you make of the game?
Yeah, well, I told you, honestly, Arsenal Man U, this was definitely the game I wanted to watch, even before Arsenal Man U. Just honestly. I told you guys, remember, I was going to give you
you said it.
Yeah, I took some good notes. But, yeah. It's, as you said, Fulham's first win, both in the relegation zone. West Brom are yet to get a win. I also think this is the first time Fulham's kept a clean sheet. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's true. They've had their defensive problems. Wrong. Yeah, they've had their defensive problems, so it's a good thing, they got this win. And honestly, what an inspirational game, to be honest, while I was watching. I just get so inspired.
I think it was inspirational across the Premier League and across all Premier League fans. Extremely inspirational. And lastly, Jose, going to you. Leeds United hosted Leicester and they got battered 4-1. Goals courtesy of Harvey Barnes, a brace from Yuri Tielemans, and of course, you know it, Jamie Vardy as always, getting on the score sheet, and Stuart Dallas scoring for Leeds United. What did you make of the game?
Well, it reminded me of Man City versus Leeds a few match days ago. It was similar performance from both teams. Leeds played like Man City. They dominated the game with possession, but Leicester played really well in the counterattack as they tend to. So, I mean, basically the game was won by quick counterattacks. I mean, all the possession was in Leeds' favor. But still, Leicester had more shots. They did really well to put their shots on target. They had 8 shots on target out of 10. So yeah, dominant performance from Leicester. But Leicester, I think that people should take note that they play really well when they're allowed to just sit back and counterattack.
Yeah, that was spot on. Brendan Rodgers tactically, and we know Leicester City are missing some big key players. Kagler Soyuncu's out, Johnny Evans out, Ricardo out, I'm pretty sure Castagna was playing. Was he playing?
He did not play. And Ndidi's out as well,
Yep.
which is big for them.
He's not been playing either. And James Madison, for whatever reason's on the bench. Iosi Perez has been benched. Some big key players missing for Leicester. And Brendan Rodgers, as we've seen times in the past with Leicester, he's set them up in that back three. It worked to absolute perfection. And for me, this reminds me every bit of Manchester United versus Manchester City at home when United won 2-0. Dominated in possession, then they got hit on the break, and they just got cut apart. And for me personally, that's what you can make of the game. Anyways, now we're going to go into our next and last segment of the show, and we're going to give you our match day 8 predictions. Starting off with the first game, Brighton hosts Burnley. For me, I think Brighton will come away with a win. For me personally, I just think Burnley have just been so poor personally this season, and the fact that Brighton only lost by 2 goals. By 2 goals to 1 to what's considered to be a red-hot Tottenham Hotspur team at the moment in terms of form. It definitely says something for me. I think Brighton at times can be very exciting to watch, and other times it can be very boring. But yeah, I think Brighton will come away with this. Landon, what are you thinking?
I was thinking the same thing. I think Brighton playing at home against Burnley looked a little bit out of form. I was going with a 3-1 to Brighton. I think that's going to be the result.
All right. Sirius, what about you?
I was muted. I have to agree with Landon. I think a 3-1 result as well.
All right. And Andre, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think if Brighton manages to match the physicality of Burnley, which they have the personnel to do so, then they play better football, and I think their fans should be saying this needs to be 3 points. So I think they can win. They'll win.
All right. And Jose, lastly to you, what are you thinking for this game?
I'd actually edge it to Burnley. I think they need a result right now. Brighton may not be the best opposition to face, so I think it'll be close. But I think it'll be a Burnley win just because they need it.
All right. All right. And the next game now, we have Southampton hosting Newcastle. For me, Newcastle played very, very well against a good, solid Everton side. But for me, I just think Southampton's mentality that stems from the manager, the way they were thrashing Aston Villa before they even got on the score sheet, they've been very impressive. For me, Southampton, I think, will come away with the win. Landon, over to you.
I was thinking probably like a 2-2 draw. I think both sides are pretty evenly matched right now. If not a draw, I could see kind of either or, just flick ahead by a goal or 2. But I think it should be a close one.
Sirius, over to you.
Sorry, I was just moisturizing. You know what I'm saying? I have to go with Landon as well. You know, I think yeah.
Inspirational duo.
Andre, over to you.
No, I think they're two really even sides. I think they're both really threatening. I'm gonna edge it to Southampton though.
All right, and Jose, lastly, over to you.
I think it'll be really close. It'll probably be like a 1-1. Both sides are in good form, and they're both fairly good defensively and going forward. So I think it'll be probably 1-1.
All right. Going into one of the bigger games at the weekend, Everton hosting Manchester United. And for me, this is what I'll say: if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stops with the favoritism and he stops with the sentimental crap, for me personally, I think he could get a result if he starts the proper 11. Absolutely. If you see the way they played against Leipzig and they cut them apart, for me, yeah, they can definitely get a result here. But if he continues to pick players like Scott McTominay and things like that, and he continues to play players out of position, for me personally, I think Everton will easily come away with the win, especially if they get some of their main players back, like Richarlison, like James Rodriguez. But for me, it really just depends how both sides set up, especially Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think this will be a draw personally. Landon, what are you thinking?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I know Everton, they're lacking a bit of their players. I know Richarlison's out until the Fulham match in about 3 weeks, I think. I think James is out injured, same with Coleman. I know Holgate's also out injured. So, I mean, they're lacking some key players. I could see a narrow victory, maybe like a 3-1 to United with a couple late goals, but I'm not sure. I would say United would edge it, though.
All right. Landon clearly having the confidence in United, which I'm just clearly losing by today. Sirius, what about you? Sirius, what do you think of this match?
It sounds to me like it's predicting a 5-0 win for United.
Sorry, I was just sorry.
Yeah, I guess you're taking that as.
Sorry, I was just trying to look for Greenwood's talent. I think Everton's gonna win. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you can say that. Just like Aubameyang has not scored in 5 games. He gets 10 from the spot.
I personally think Iobi is even better than Greenwood. So.
Oh no! Don't stop. No. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This is where I immediately cut Sirius off when he starts comparing Greenwood to freaking Awobi. And Andre, over to you. What are you thinking?
I think Bruno Fernandes masterclass. I think you guys will comfortably win, and Solskjaer will restake his claim for the job. I think United will get the win on this.
All right. Andre clearly having a full confidence in this United side. And Jose, lastly, over to you. What are you thinking?
I'm gonna also predict a win. I don't like predicting wins for us anymore because I'm often proved wrong. But I think we'll get a win just because we need one. That's the only reason.
Yeah. To a certain extent, I definitely think a win is definitely possible due to the mass amount of injuries Everton do have. But for me, it just stems from the managers. And when you look at the tactical know-how of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and you look at the tactical know-how of Carlo Ancelotti, they're just streets apart from each other. One has over a decade of experience managing so many top sides, top side after top side after top side, and another got sacked from Cardiff and was a former Molde manager. So yeah, that just says everything you need to know. Anyways, going to the next game, Crystal Palace versus Leeds United. Now, people might think I'm crazy, but I think Crystal Palace is going to edge it because if you look at the way Leicester cut apart Leeds United, it was possession right on the break. And what is Roy Hodgson? A guy who literally hits teams on the break for a living. And I think his tactics will come to absolute perfection here, personally. I think Crystal Palace is going to edge a shocking win here. Landon, what do you think?
I personally think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very good game. I'm going with 4-3 leads. I think Patrick Bamford's going to keep on scoring, probably get a brace or something. But I also think on the other side, I'm not sure. I think they can get a variety of goals. For me, I just don't see Crystal Palace winning these cutting edge games with the talent they've got. The only way I see Crystal Palace winning this is if it's a kind of a boring, stale 1-0, maybe 2-1. But if Leeds can put numbers on the board and keep scoring goals that we know they're all capable of, it's just kind of been a slow, steady last couple of weeks for them. I do see Leeds winning this one.
Sirius, over to you.
I personally think the Leeds are just gonna absolutely hit it out of the park. I think they're gonna win maybe 5-0, maybe 6. You know what I'm saying? So.
All right. Andre, over to you.
I think if you look at one side outside of the top 6 that's going to be able to break through that low defensive block, it's going to be Leeds United. They're incredible. We saw it against Liverpool in glimpse moments, and we've seen it throughout their season so far. I think they'll get the job done. I think Bamford will be on the score sheet again, and I think Leeds will win it. So win to Bielsa's men.
And Jose, lastly, over to you.
I think it'll be a fairly comfortable win for Leeds, probably like a 2-0. It'll be simple. I think I think Leeds will break. Crystal Palace will sit back. Leeds will break them down.
Yeah.
All right. And for me, the only reason why I predict that Crystal Palace could edge out a win is just because Manchester City and Leeds just are almost exact replicas of each other in terms of the way they play. Pep Guardiola and Marcelo Bielsa, and they really do struggle when it comes to teams hitting them on the break. And for me personally, that's potentially a reason why I think Crystal Palace could most certainly come away with a win. But if you look at the quality they have at center backs, and Scott Dan, Gary Cahill, Czech Kouyaté, they're really not, world class players. They're really not world class players. And with the quality that Leeds United have, they very well could break down, those small frailties that they have. And if they do, and if they do, or if they're capable of doing it, I'm definitely not opposed to a Leeds United win either. Continuing into the next game, Chelsea hosts Sheffield United, and for me, Chelsea will get a smashing win here. For me, I just think Chelsea will personally, they'll be able to get 3 points. But I think the biggest question for Lampard is, will Mason Mount play or will he not play? Landon, over to you.
I think this one's going to be a peculiar one. I'm going for a 2-0 Sheffield United win. I think Chelsea's going to dominate the game entirely, possession, shots. I just think it's not going to go their way. And I think Sheffield's going to have maybe 2-3 shots on target, and they're just going to come away with a win. Just one of those weeks. So I'm going to go with 2-0 Sheffield.
All right, Sirius, what are you thinking for this game?
I'm going to go the opposite of Landon. I'm going to go 2-0 win for Chelsea. I'm not quite sure what Landon's thinking there, to be honest.
All right.
Watch and see.
Fair enough, though. Andre, what are you thinking for this game?
Chelsea. That's it. I think Chelsea will win it.
All right, and Jose, over to you.
Yeah, I think confidently go with the Chelsea win, probably like 2 or 3-0.
All right then. The next game, West Ham hosts Fulham. Great for Fulham that they got their first Premier League win. But they're coming up against a team that you could say is, to a certain, this could sound kind of weird when you say it, but they're coming up against a team who are red hot in terms of just good results. Yes, they lost to Liverpool, but they've gotten 3 points against Leicester. They've gotten 3 points against Wolves. They've gotten a point out of Tottenham. I wonder how that happened. Who knows? And yeah, for me personally, I think West Ham, this is going to be a no problem. I think West Ham will batter Fulham in every way, shape, and form. Landon, what are you thinking?
I agree. I think it's going to be a West Ham masterclass. I think it's going to be around a 4-0. I think we're going to have a smashing game from Yarmolenko grabbing a hat trick.
All right. Whether I don't think Yarmolenko will start. I could be wrong.
Off the bench.
Off the bench.
Yes.
But you have to, but you'd have to watch Marcus Rashford on knowing how to score a hat trick off the bench, or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, either one. Sirius, over to you.
Sorry, what?
All right, skip serious. Just go to Andre.
Yeah. Andre, what are you thinking for this game?
Also, I don't think we gave Jose cred, but I think he predicted perfectly Fulham's win against West Brom. He made the point that Fulham would exactly, they would be like, if we're gonna win a game, it'd be this. So you got to give him cred for that one. But I don't think Fulham will continue. I think West Ham will win.
And Jose, over to you. What do you think about this game?
I definitely probably agree with Landon. Probably like a 3 or 4-0 win to West Ham.
All right. And now let's go back to Sirius.
I got my yeah. I personally think that Fulham's gonna lose. I think, David Moyes, he's just a class manager. His tactics. Okay. That was sarcasm, but to be honest, David Moyes, I think he's a little overhated. To be honest, he's kept West Ham.
I would agree. I would agree with that. West Ham have looked solid.
I really wasn't asking you, but anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I feel like what he did at Man U, I feel like he had limited options. He's kept West Ham in it, and before Man U, he was a great manager at Everton. So.
Yeah, and for me, as much as I hate David Moyes to a certain extent, Sirius is absolutely right. He was great at Everton. He's great at West Ham. But for me, I think the problem is that is David Moyes an Everton level manager? Yes. Is he a West Ham level manager? Yes. But is he a Manchester United level manager? No, he absolutely wasn't. He really wasn't. And just looking at that, he really just did not fit Manchester United in any way, shape, and form. And now we're gonna go into the next game. And West Brom host Andre FC, aka Tottenham. And I think West Brom will come away with a smashing win. No, I'm just joking. Tottenham will come away with a smashing victory. They will absolutely, annihilate West Brom in every way, shape, and form. And I think this could be a 4-0, 5-0 game. But if it's not, it will be a classic Jose Mourinho park the bus performance. Who knows? Or they could be Spurs again. Who knows? We really don't know. But yeah, I think Tottenham will win this one easily. Landon, going to you.
I agree. I could see a 3-0 Tottenham win. As long as they don't pull a West Ham game, I think they'll be fine. If they just score those 3 goals nice and early, and they don't throw them away, should be fine.
Yep, 100%. Sirius, what are you thinking without letting your bias get in the way?
All right, fine. I won't be biased, but I think West Brom can, maybe get their cheeky first win. You never know. I'm joking. I think Tottenham will win. I'm not trying to be biased here.
All right. And Andre, going over to you, do you think we will see the classic Expressions FC champagne football that Tottenham fans have been crying out to see?
No.
No, I mean, we've seen glimpses of it, but it seems like each game seems to be up in the air. It's either we're amazing and battering teams, 6-1, 5-2, whatever, or it's the other end of just barely squeezing by, sitting back and just losing the midfield battle in the end. So I think our midfield, if our midfield is up to class, then it'll be a great game to be optimistic about, and we'll score tons of goals like we hope and we want. I think neutrals want too, to see the best out of those, especially fantasy PL owners. But if not, then it'll have to be just grinding it out similar to Brighton. And it's up in the air.
Dele Alli, his body can't do what it used to,
Yeah.
He's getting old.
Yeah, he's getting old. Dele Alli's getting old. Dele Alli is like Ronaldinho.
He is. He's got that charisma.
Yeah, he's got the charisma like Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he'll end up in jail as well.
Okay.
Dele Allinho. Jose, going over to you, what are you thinking? A smashing Tottenham win or Spursy-like performance?
I think it should be a good win for Tottenham, probably by a few goals. I think it'll be comfortable for them.
All right. And going into the next game, which is, in my opinion, one of the most exciting fixtures of the weekend, Leicester City hosts Wolves. For me, seeing the frailties that Leicester have and the players that Brendan Rodgers has at his selection, I think it's going to be counterattacking versus counterattacking. Both of these managers are definitely proven Premier League managers now. They definitely have good, exciting styles of play. Yes, they hit teams on the break. But I mean, for me, I think personally, Brendan Rodgers just has more in his tactical arsenal. Nuno Espirito Santo literally lives off of hitting teams on the break. I mean, he literally plays that three at the back. He literally lives off that. And for me personally, I'm really not sure. It's a tough one. But for me, I'm gonna go with a draw. I'm generally not even sure, but I think we'll go with a draw for this one. Landon, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I can definitely see the draw happening. Personally, I think since James Maddison is still out with that hip injury, I think Wolves might slightly edge it, maybe like a 3-2, a 2-1. It's going to be a close contest, though. It can go either way. But due to a couple injuries on the Leicester side, I'm going to have to take Wolves with this one.
All right, Sirius, what are you saying?
I don't know. I feel like it could go either way, to be honest. You have Jimenez, you have Vardy on both sides. I feel like it might be, I feel like it's either going to be 0-0 or 4-4, but I'm going to go with 4-4. I think, Christian Fuchs, I think he can score a worldie, to be honest with you.
All right, Andre, going to you.
Yeah, in recent years, it's always been a really even match that could go either way. Wolves have a good record against them. I think Wolves will end up edging it. I think Wolves will get the points.
All right, and Jose, over to you. What are you saying?
I think it'll be like a 1-0 win for whatever team is not playing on the front foot. So if one team, I think that say Leicester play on the front foot, I think they'll lose because Wolves will be better playing on the counterattack. So I think I'll edge it to Wolves as well, just because of the Leicester injuries.
Yeah. For me, this is a difficult one to predict. Just because both of these sides are just so similar in the way that they're playing right now, and I think the next one will be even more difficult. Manchester City hosts Liverpool, and for me, you look at both sides, and both sides have their injuries, they have their frailties. Liverpool at the back, they're definitely missing that. They're definitely missing Virgil van Dijk, and they're missing Fabinho as that defensive shield. And Joe Gomez is now have to take that Van Dijk kind of role, but he really isn't doing a fantastic job being able to lead the less experienced academy graduates. And you look at Manchester City, and you look at and they really lack any clinical striker. Gabriel Jesus on his day can be an amazing striker, but as of recent, really hasn't been. Sergio Aguero was back for the briefest amount of time and then went missing again. I honestly think it's just going to be whose frailty is worse at the end of the day. For me, I'm not sure. Personally, I think Diogo Jota is just going to get Liverpool over the line, just because Manchester City's defense at times can be absolutely shambolic, and you really, yeah, they have they got Ruben Diaz, they got Nathan Ake, but you really don't know which Manchester City you're going to get. You're just so inconsistent these days. I'm just not really sure, and I think Liverpool will find the consistency a bit more. I think Liverpool will slightly edge it for me, but it could go either way. Landon, what are you saying?
Yeah, I know you touched on it a little bit with the Sergio Aguero. I know Pep noted last week against the Sheffield clash that he picked up a slight injury. It's still unclear, to my knowledge, if he's going to play or if he's not. I know Pep said he was most likely going to play, but it really depends. I think it depends on Sergio Aguero alone. I don't think Liverpool's defense is strong enough to deal with the combination of Mahrez, Aguero, and Sterling. So if Aguero is fit, I do see City winning this one. Just based off the nature of their attack. But if Aguero's not in that starting 11, I can see Liverpool taking the edge with Diogo Jota coming forward and just taking a slight nudge. So I personally think it's going to be 2-1, and it can go either way. Totally. Not sure.
Sirius, what about you?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Liverpool are gonna win this. Yeah, that's my analysis.
Andre, going over to you.
Yeah, I think City have to be out to surprise us. That's what they have to do. You look at the impact that their backups have had. You look at Ferran Torres' impact and Diogo Jota's impact. Liverpool have just been better, and I think, yeah, City have to be out to surprise us for this match. I think that they'd be happy if they can force a draw, but I think Liverpool will edge it in the end with the help of Salah and maybe referees.
And Jose, lastly, over to you.
Well, yeah, Liverpool are looking definitely more impressive than Man City right now. I mean, obviously Jota especially scored a hat-trick today in the Champions League. They'll be looking really good, and they'll be probably the favorites. I think that they'll edge it. It'll be very tight, but it could go both ways. But I think Liverpool will edge this one.
All right, pretty universal across the board there. And for the final game of the weekend, and again, another good game. Arsenal host Aston Villa. Aston Villa, ever since that Liverpool performance, just haven't been up to Aston Villa standards, really. They nicked a late win at Leicester. They've lost to Southampton. I mean, you really don't know which Aston Villa you're going to get. It's really hard to say. I think they can be an impressive side. I mean, we saw them, tear Liverpool an absolute new one. But again, you don't really know which Aston Villa you're going to get. But I think after that, after seeing that absolute Mikel Arteta's masterclass against Manchester United, I can say nothing other than Arsenal are going to get a victory here. If Arsenal play for the rest of the season how they bullied Manchester United, I think Arsenal will cement their place in the top four, no problems whatsoever. So yeah, I think Arsenal will come away with a victory in this one. Landon, what are you saying?
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Aston Villa is going to be looking at the recent performances, the start to the season that they've had. They've now dropped points 2 match weeks in a row. Still in the last 5, they've achieved 9 out of 15 points, which is really solid for Aston Villa. Also, to spike serious, I'm going with an Aston Villa win. I'm going to go with a thrashing 3-1 win at the Emirates. That's what I'm going to go with. It's not biased. It's just because you just got to predict sometimes the underdogs.
If Mustafi and Kolasinac start, yeah, that could very well happen. If Mustafi and Kolasinac start.
Holding. We got Holding.
Yeah, that's why Grealish is going to score, and you're going to lose 3-1. Sometimes you just got to look at the table,
he's better than
look at the table, and you got to see Aston Villa is ahead of Arsenal on the table with a match in hand. But that says nothing about – we might be in 15th, but you're worse than Aston Villa, so are we.
And Sirius, over to you. And I'm assuming you're gonna say a smashing Arsenal victory, like me.
Yeah, well, not to be biased here, but I think we're just gonna win 5-0. I think El Neni, he's gonna put on another masterclass. I think he's personally the best Egyptian in the Premier League. If I'm being honest here.
Disgraceful scenes.
Andre, over to you.
Whoa! I still have to give my analysis.
All right. Well then.
Okay, and yeah, I think Aubameyang, Lacazette, I think they're gonna get a couple goals, and I think Pepe will come off the bench. His 72 million, I think he'll score because he scores against the bad teams.
Do you think now with the absence of troops from Arsenal Fan TV, do you think that will have an impact on Aubameyang and Lacazette's performances?
Most definitely, yes. They will. They'll take that encouragement, and they will continue to go on a goal drought for the next 5 matches.
What kind of leave? Press the leave button.
Anyways, Andre, going over to you. What's your prediction for this game?
I'm really glad Landon preceded me in my prediction because I know I'm seen by because I'm a Spurs fan, but I back Arsenal a lot. I back Arsenal a lot this season. Gabriel has been terrific. I have, but I think Villa are going to edge this. I think Villa will come away with the win here. I think they're going to stumble Arsenal. I think they're going to stop them in their tracks. I think 3-1 is a fair prediction, but I'm going to edge it to Villa.
All right. Personally, I'm as pissed as I am at Arsenal, but yeah, I 100% agree with Sirius. I think that Villa are going to get a thumping when they go to the Emirates. And you look at how strong Arsenal are at the Emirates. Yes, I know Leicester beat them at the Emirates. But the Emirates is a fortress for Arsenal. For me personally, yeah, I think Arsenal will come
Why
away
have
with
you
the
been
win.
praising Arsenal so much? Oh my God, they beat you. They played well, but they weren't clinical, and they beat you through a penalty. I can't believe how much you've been praising Arsenal. You've been
Whoa,
praising
whoa,
Arsenal way
whoa.
too much. A
Old Pogba
fortress. They're
masterclass.
good. They're
Whoa.
playing good, but
But it was
they're here.
It was a Mikel
They should be
Arteta's
here.
masterclass, bro.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They could
To
be
be
so.
fair,
I think you should talk when you win a trophy.
I mean, okay, you can win all the FA Shields and
Yeah,
the
the
FA
FA
Cup
Cup.
and all the
Cup,
Community
not the
Shields
FA
you can
Shield.
desire. But okay, FA Cup and Community Shield. Let's try to get top 4 next season.
Okay, well, I just won't try to get 15th place.
It's like we have 6 games played. Okay.
Seven
least-
games played.
The egotistical Sirius after a 1-0 thrashing defeat from Paul
Exactly.
Pogba, slide tackling him in the box with
How much was Pogba
taking
again?
the ball. 8 million.
How much was Pepe again?
Wait, how much is Maguire? Okay, my case is done.
How many years has it been since you've competed in the Champions League?
How many years in a row have Arsenal been in Europa League?
Wait,
Yeah.
Davis, didn't today you said Ole out, but on the show you said Ole in?
I never said Ole in. I never said Ole in today. I never said Ole in today. But anyways, lastly, going to Jose, what are you saying for this game?
All right, so like I'm gonna put my bias aside. Unlike all the other judges, I think this is gonna be tight. It's gonna be a tight, probably. It's tight. I think it'll be probably somewhere around like a 7-2 win for Villa. I think there'll be like a Mustafi man of the match for Villa. Hat trick of own goal.
This is what we'd like to see. I like this prediction. That.
It'll be tight. Look, it'll be tight, but I think it'll be, Villa win.
Slight victory. I agree.
We should end every show like this. Sirius running off.
Well, and Sirius is clearly unhappy, but and I have no idea why he's going in on me. I'm the one backing Arsenal here. But in all seriousness, I definitely do think Arsenal will come away with a win. I just think Aston Villa's frailties, yes, and not in terms of injuries, but just in terms of consistency, they really lack a lot of consistency. So. Anyways, we've reached the end of our show. If you liked what you saw, smash a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to keep in touch with us on Instagram, we are there at PL Primetime. If you want to see our guy Landon back, also smash a like on this video. He was brilliant today. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And wherever you are watching this in the world, have a good day/evening.